Aimee, thank you very much for joining Energy Live News. I would like to start, of course, from the findings of your recent study that says that the carbon footprint gap between rich and poor becomes bigger and bigger. Can you tell us a little bit more about this study and the findings?
Yeah, we've put the report out in the public domain. So you've seen the statistics around the extent to which this gap is growing between the carbon footprints of the wealthy and the less wealthy. So I won't repeat those statistics. But basically, the main objective of what we're doing is not to really analyse the statistics around that, although that provides the important context. It's really to find out about why this is happening. Why are the consumption expectations of the wealthy or the wealthier, the more affluent in society, why are they going up and up? Why is their share of the resources available to us all so disproportionate? So it's really understanding why we expect and want and do progressively more, and understanding the ultimate environmental implications of that, which is more difficulties reducing greenhouse gas emissions and more environmental degradation, because there's a direct correlation between how much we consume and those things.
So on that question, how this gap is getting bigger and bigger, what do you think is the answer to that question? Why is this happening?
Yeah, that's a very fundamental question. It kind of goes beyond the study of sustainable consumption. You know, it's an economic question. It's about the distribution of money and wealth. And we know that, yeah, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. And that's a global trend. And policies differ from country to country in terms of taxation and the redistribution of wealth through welfare systems and stuff like that. But it seems that whichever way policy approaches that issue, you know, this global trend is getting worse. And our project's not really about getting to the root of that. It's really understanding the specific dimension of the problem, which is that because the rich are getting richer, they're able to consume more and more. And we're trying to get to the bottom of that question. What drives that consumption? What traps them into those high levels of consumption?
Do you think that cutting the carbon footprint of the wealthiest might be the quickest road, the quickest way to reach net zero?
It's incredibly important in terms of net zero. So these are the people, these high consumers that we've identified, are the people who are driving rising levels of greenhouse gas emissions. They're driving increasing expectations about the goods and services we'll be able to access. They're defining how the rest of society views a happy, successful and fulfilled life. They're setting the expectations for the rest of us. So in two ways, they're absolutely crucial to reaching net zero. One, in terms of actually reducing the amount of greenhouse gas emissions they're directly contributing to, and secondly, in terms of their influence on wider society and what we expect.
In terms of the energy demand in the UK, what can you say about the rich and poor divide?
Yeah, well, there's some very interesting stuff going on in relation to energy demand in the UK, in the sense that obviously there's been a lot of effort in recent years to put in place demand reduction measures. So trying to reduce the amount of energy that we're demanding from the energy system. And research is starting to quite clearly indicate that actually those in society who are responding to those messages and those interventions, which are designed to reduce our consumption, are those who are already not consuming as much as they need to live a healthy and a happy, fulfilled and socially included lifestyle. So smart meters is a big way that we've been trying to encourage people to be more conscientious about their energy use. And the people who are scrutinising those in-home displays and using that to drive down their energy consumption are those who are already low consumers. It is not the wealthy.
Is the rising cost of living crisis likely to make those on middle or low incomes reduce their carbon consumption? What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely it will. The wealthier will not be untouched by this, but the wealthier people are, the more resilient they'll be to these multiple crises. Of course, it'll be the lower income households and the middle income households that are more affected. We know how households that struggle with energy affordability, we know how they respond. They cut back on other essential services and they cut back on their energy use as well. So we've heard a lot about the heat or eat dilemma. I don't think it's ever quite as simple as that, but you start to see those households eating poorer quality food, employing coping strategies like spending more time outside the home in places that are heated for free, libraries, on public transport, places like that. And all of those strategies have quite serious implications for their health and their well-being and their quality and enjoyment of life. And that's how they'll be affected. And along the line, you start to see quite profound health impact associated with those coping strategies.
Aimee, just reading your research, and I was wondering, in terms of the locations, in terms of where are these large carbon footprints of the high incomes, did the research identify these regions in the UK or in the world probably that these high incomes large carbon footprints are concentrated?
Yes, we have done this spatial analysis or some spatial analysis on this. There's always more to do. And we haven't released that research yet, but that is coming through the pipeline. But I can tell you that obviously globally, you know, these trends are the higher consumers are located in the developed world, in the global north. But that's not universally the case. There's a very variegated picture within developed countries. So we've done some spatial analysis within the UK. And you can very easily locate these high consuming households because if you use the index of multiple deprivation, high levels of consumption map exactly onto high levels of income, which is what you would expect. In UK cities, we have highly polarized cities. So the wealthy people tend to live on one side of the city and the poorer people we have a very clear spatial segregation between socioeconomic groups. So it's very easy to find these people. One of the interesting things that we found, and one of the reasons why it's another reason why it's really important to tackle this issue, is that high consumers don't suffer from a poorer quality environment in their immediate area as a result of their high consumption. The impacts are displaced into the poorer areas of the city. So if a household's running two cars, two large four-wheel drive SUV type vehicles, and they're driving them to work every day, they're perhaps driving their children to school outside of their immediate area, you know, they're passing through lower income neighborhoods, particularly inner city neighborhoods, which tend to be lower income as a general trend. That's where they're concentrating those emissions and having those negative impacts.
Aimee, my final question is, obviously you have previously said that probably cutting the carbon footprint of the wealthiest part of the society probably might be the quickest way to reach net zero. Apart from that, would you recommend another quickest or quicker or more difficult way to reach net zero?
Well, I really do think that is going to be absolutely crucial in order to reach net zero equitably. So we can't keep looking to the low consuming households to push down their consumption further. That's not fair at all. But we need to look to the energy system. We've got to rapidly decarbonize the energy system. We've got lots of technological options for doing that, but it's going to take a really big push and some really upfront investment to really break up with fossil fuels. And that's absolutely what we've got to do. And we're running out of time to do it now.
Aimee, thank you very much for your time. It was really a pleasure talking to you. Thank you again.
Yes, it's a pleasure. Thank you.